station wagon was once a familiar sight on American roads and a fixture of family life. We often saw the station wagon in pop culture as well. These days, wagons are becoming an increasingly rare sight, and many car enthusiasts constantly ask the question, why? Plainly stated, Americans just don't like them. Now what if we told you that this drop in popularity is all thanks to an obscure plane composed by auto manufacturers that they don't want you to know about?
Americans just don't like wagons. For whatever reason. We have rejected the body style for many years. It's been declining. We think back to perhaps some of those movies like National Lampoon's Vacation, where a family travels across the country in a wagon. Those days are long behind us.
Wagons now take up less than 2% of industry sales, which likely comes as a disappointment to many who beg manufacturers like BMW and Audi to release the same station wagons that Europe receives in the United States, such as the ever-popular RS4 and newly released M3 Touring, for example. So why don't these car manufacturers release these cars in North American markets? The answer is actually a lot deeper than just Americans don't like station wagons. In the last decade, crossovers, SUVs and trucks continue to devour market share, now leading many manufacturers to believe that if they were to produce the wide variety of shooting brakes offered outside of US soil, sales would decrease overall. We're even starting to see brands like Ford begin to sell trucks and SUVs exclusively, as well as brands like Mercedes-Benz slowly pivoting their business plans towards selling only sedans and SUVs. In 2018, consumers worldwide purchased roughly 2.5 million wagons, which is roughly 3% of all new cars sold. In the States alone, this segment represents only 1 to 2% of all cars sold. But in some European countries, sales are several times that, with wagons representing nearly 20% of sales in Germany, and around a quarter of sales in certain Scandinavian countries like Finland and Sweden. So now many North Americans are scratching their heads wondering what exactly is the problem. The big three automobile manufacturers in America, or the General Motors Company, Stellantis, formerly known as Fiat Chrysler, and Ford Motor Company, convinced consumers in the past that station wagons were uncool and didn't have enough space for large families and friends. However, Ford offered a car-based wagon that comfortably seated 6 adults and 2 children until 2005, when minivans became more profitable. To replace the minivan's popularity, manufacturers created SUVs, which were marketed to men as a masculine alternative. As gas prices rose and garages became smaller, manufacturers introduced crossovers, marketed toward women. All of this marketing was essentially a way of covering up the secret automobile manufacturers don't want anyone to know. For the same length, it is a lot cheaper to make a vehicle taller than it is to make a vehicle wider. So for the cargo volume, the manufacturers can make more money by forcing you to pile cargo higher and blocking rear vision than spreading it out lower so you have better rear visibility. So to summarize, wagons are not popular nowadays because gullible customers followed marketing plans precisely designed to eliminate them because other vehicles were more profitable. In recent years, some companies have attempted to reintroduce a wider selection of wagons for sale in North America, with Mercedes-Benz featuring the W205 C-Class wagon in Canada. However, seemingly what they expected, the C-Class wagon was vastly outsold by similar-sized crossovers and SUV models such as the GLA and GLC, prompting Mercedes yet again to discontinue the sale of the wagon, a vehicle that never reached the US, in which they had the same concerns. While there isn't any actual statistical evidence to back this next statement up, many would most likely agree that due to the ongoing rise in obesity rates in the United States, many buyers are now leaning towards larger vehicles to suit their needs, deeming a wagon too small judging from their sleeker appearances. Now, all hope is not lost. With the Audi C8 RS6 finally coming to America with considerable fanfare, could there be a resurgence in wagon interest in increasingly mainstream car people? Or will it end up with Audi shaking their heads at disappointing sales and telling Americans this is why you can't have nice things? Could non-car people who grew up in SUVs ever drive a backlash against the omnipresent crossover SUV scourge? And lastly, as gas prices only continue to rise, many people may soon deem it financially irresponsible to drive an SUV or a crossover, as they usually have far worse fuel efficiency than wagons. Thanks for watching. What do you guys think about the fall of the station wagon in the US? We'd love to hear any additional points and your opinions down in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for weekly exclusive automobile entertainment.